Welcome everyone to another episode of the Sous Chefs. This week, we're talking about the multiverse of madness, the Doctor Strange film that just came out and which I've now seen 3 times. Robert, would you like to tell people why I happen to have seen this film 3 times?
Yes, but I would like to introduce the name of the segment first.
Oh yes, why don't you tell us the name of the segment?
The name of this segment, which will be recurring occasionally, is The Sous Chefs Have Shredded It.
We're about to shred this film.
So you have seen it 3 times because you are much too polite to tell people when you have already seen a movie.
So
when people say, "Oh, have you seen the movie?" You're like, "I'd happily see it with you." And they're like, "Okay, great, come see it with us." And then I'm just like, "Oh, you're seeing it again." And then you're like, "They don't know that."
So yes, my dirty secret is out. Possibly the whitest thing about me is that if I see a film and somebody else asks me to see the film, I've never seen that film, regardless of if I've seen the film 52 times, which is how somehow I managed to see this multiverse film 3 times before I finally managed to see everything everywhere all at once, which I did see yesterday and is fucking amazeballs, but you haven't seen it, so we can't talk about it. But we can't talk about Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness because this is a film that the more you see it, the worse it gets.
And I have only seen it once, but I'm gonna be real with you. I'm dying to see it again because I've really enjoyed it.
Well, why don't you tell us what you liked about the film?
I think that the Doctor Strange films are just, okay, aside from the fact that it's about some white man taking over some culture that is clearly Asian in origin, besides that, I got over that after the first movie. They're just fun. Like, I love that the magic kind of makes a little bit of sense. I like that, he's missed out on stuff and he didn't just get to come back and like take his old spot. I like that he has to work with other people because he's so damn arrogant that even though I don't like that he gets to like always solve the problem, but I mean, it's a comic book character, so of course he gets to solve the problem. But otherwise, I just find them enjoyable. Like, I thought this one was pretty good. Like, a lot of Marvel movies, because I'm not like a Marvel fanatic, but like a lot of these movies seem to drag on for forever. And this one didn't feel that way. Like, it felt like a good amount of time. We had a good time. Like, it wasn't totally predictable at all times. You know what I'm saying? Like, obviously we knew some shit was gonna go the way it went, but I had some surprises in there. So.
Okay, at this point, spoiler alert, spoiler alert. We will be discussing spoilers from here on out. Now, this movie will have been out for 2 weeks by the time this video is up, and everybody and their mama has already commented on what they say they think about this film. So if you want to know what some really Johnny-come-lately lawyers have to say, please stay tuned, because here we come.
Look, I wanted to give people a chance to see the movie. We could have put this out the next day, but I wanted to give people a chance to see the movie.
I think people have had a chance, and especially some of us have not only had a chance to see it multiple times, we've also had a chance to take a nap during a couple of these outings, always at a different point, which means I definitely fell asleep the first time we saw this film because I finally managed to not be asleep okay, so I was a little bit unsure about how incursions worked going into it the second time, because it turns out I fell asleep the first time when Baron Mordo is explaining how the whole thing works and how the 2 universes can collide and then one or both can be destroyed or whatever the fuck he was talking about. I can't remember what the hell. But that was the first time I saw that scene, was this last time I saw it this weekend. And I'm like, that is some Sam Raimi right there. Like, you definitely see, like, Sam Raimi is like one of a few directors, I feel, other than Ryan Coogler, who's actually been able to impart his aesthetic into the film. Because usually you don't get that. Like the Russos, I mean, they don't really have like a visual style that I would find in any way to be like unique, or I mean, they come from TV, so they have a very kind of TV sort of aesthetic. I'm not saying they're
They the
from
ones who did Endgame?
Yeah, they did Infinity War, Endgame. They did Civil War.
I'm sick of them.
They also, ironically, they also were involved in this other multiverse movie. They were on the producing team for Everything Everywhere All at Once, which is a visually stunning film and has some of the best acting you've seen. Short Round, come on, Gen X. Our friend, no, the dude, he was a Goonie and he was Short Round, and he's coming through with some Oscar level acting, some amazing skills. Also, I mean, that's a fantastic, I was like, that's a multiverse film I could really get behind. And my husband turned to me last night, he's like, you know what would be really great? Let's get really, really high and watch that film again, because I want to see those hot dog fingers when I'm really high. We were only mildly high last night. It was just a teaspoon of magic sugar in the tea.
Okay.
So, just enough to make you want some snacks, which I did eat about 4 marshmallow pies. Well, they were small. But this thing that Sam Raimi has a very unique visual style. He likes to, like, he loves composite shots. You know, he loves to have like faces fade in, or he'll do these transition where, like, instead of it being just a straight cut or a fade, you'll slowly see like one face fade out and another face fade in, and then suddenly we're in the next scene. So there was definitely that. He put his imprimatur on it, and obviously he loves gore. Like, Sam Raimi is all about the gore, and he really has not, like in the Spider-Man movies, he didn't get an opportunity to really play up the horror elements other than like body horror, which, like, if you think about that scene in Spider-Man 2 where Doc Ock is they're trying to remove the octopus arms from him and they start going crazy and killing everybody. That's very Raimi, you know, where the lady is literally being dragged across the floor and she's like digging her fingernails into the tile. What did you think of the gore level in this film? It was more gore than we're used to in the MCU.
I mean, I'm gonna be real. I haven't seen all of these movies, so I don't know what it's like. But for me, this was a lot.
It's a lot of gore for a PG-13 film. Like that big monster got its eye poked directly out. The whole eyeball came out. We had Doctor Strange.
The monsters.
Yeah, we had Doctor Strange's decomposing corpse from another multiverse.
Oh, that shit was pretty grody, but I loved it.
I appreciated that because I mean, they're like, don't we need a living Strange? Does he need to be living though?
That was actually pretty good. See, that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like these Doctor Strange movies are not totally predictable.
No,
and maybe for somebody who's more aware, they could be, but I never would have thought that he was gonna. I mean, I did wonder why he wanted to bury that body, but I kind of dismissed it as soon as they went to the next scene.
Right.
So
yeah.
I didn't think that, like, even when he said, "Does it have to be living?" I did not think that he was going to occupy his own.
Oh, I immediately knew that's where they were headed. See, this is the problem with being a film major, is that you're such a dick.
What is it?
Foreshadowing.
Somebody's dead body. What is it? What the hell is that device called? Where like somebody puts something in there and you're like, why is this here? And then it comes back. What the hell is that called?
It's like a MacGuffin or something. There's always a MacGuffin.
Schrodinger's cat is somebody's some shit. Anyway, I can't.
There's a lot of good filmmaking that's happening here. I mean, the action scenes were cool. I mean, let's just, the thing I love about the MCU as opposed to like the DC universe is that they really do pick, like, they went the Harry Potter route. Now again, okay, I'm like, I got issues. One of these days we're going to sit down, we're going to talk about Harry Potter, and we're going to talk about all the issues that we have with this, with the canon, with the films, with whatever. But what I do appreciate is when these bitches sat down at Warner Brothers and they were like, we're making all these books into movies, And you know what we're going to do? We're going to get the entire Royal Shakespeare Company from 1969 to 2005. And all these bitches are going to be in all these films. And we're going to be having Maggie fucking Smith. You know, we're getting all these bitches in here. And that's what the MCU does. I mean, when they cast a role, they cast it. I mean, think about how much, like, because these are such character-based films. So it's not enough to be sexy as fuck and look real good with your shirt off. I mean, Chris Hemsworth, all of those things are true. Did I make a sound like, oh, the first time I saw him without his shirt on? Yes. Did the entire theater erupt into laughter so much so that we still to this day don't know what happened in that scene in Thor? Yes. That shit was dope. And I'm getting a little moist thinking about it again.
My God.
The motherfucker is sexy. But like, think about Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man. Without him, there'd be no MCU, right? Like, the casting was so perfect. And Benedict Cumberbatch, it's one of the weirdest looking dudes.
So English.
But he is, even though his American accent, he could have just been English. I don't understand why they couldn't
understand.
But for whatever reason, he got to be American, fine. But he's such a douche. Like, he really infuses that douchebaggery. He comes across as so arrogant and snotty.
So arrogant. Ugh.
Got that weird, like, he's so, like, he is related to royalty or landed gentry, like fancy people, because he's got weird bones and his eyes are too far apart and it looks weird. So yeah, I get it. Maybe he really does think he's Sherlock Holmes sometimes. Which is weird because that motherfucker never solved a case. In the entire run of that show, he didn't actually do any detecting. He just ran around gaslighting everybody and telling them they were stupid. Anyway.
I didn't really watch it very much.
We can talk about that. But with respect to the acting, though, can we talk about Elizabeth Olsen?
She acts her ass off.
Her whole face. And the crazy thing is, I think about how stupid these people look when they're on camera, because she's just over here like, like, you got to do that. Like, there's nothing to react to. You're in front of a green screen. I'm in front of a green screen right now.
Right.
So it's literally like, I don't even know how to do that without looking back. Shit crazy. Like, that's what you're doing. You're literally like, how do you do that and not look?
But the thing is, I think they look pretty goofy, and so what I do is I cackle at the movie theater, which is why I like going to the theater that we go to, because I feel like if I went to Evanston, all the like Marvel fanatics would like be ready to
you don't go to Evanston. Okay, sidebar. One time, me and my buddy Greg decided to go see the first Deadpool movie in Evanston the weekend that it came out during a matinee. Okay, so it was like a 10:30 a.m. showing back before the pandemic when they actually still did that shit. And we started cackling when the opening credits started, because it's literally like directed by some dickhead, written by the real heroes here. And I was like, ha ha, that's fucking great. Some dude literally ran to get the usher, had him come back in and said, you're laughing too loudly. This gentleman is disturbed by your laughing at this comedy movie. So yeah, if you like enjoying films uproarious, yes, we were laughing too hard.
Was that made for anything other than laughs?
Apparently this dude was super serious about Deadpool, and he's the merc with a mouth. I thought he was supposed to be funny. Excuse me for coming to a movie to laugh, but this dude was not here for my uproarious laughter, which is why we like to go to 87th Street, because ain't nobody gonna care if we're laughing that loud.
We all laughing, talking at the screen. We having a ball.
That's my favorite thing, was when we went to see Get Out at that theater. I was like, bitch! Don't go in!
No, I love that theater. I love it. I love it. I'm glad we saw Black Panther there.
Oh, that was great.
We've seen almost every recent one there except Shang-Chi, because we saw that downtown.
That is a fact. Yeah. Well, Shang-Chi wasn't the one where I'm literally going to be busting a gut. That was a pleasant movie. It was fine.
Yeah,
It was enjoyable. But I mean, the level of acting here is much higher, but we also have a lot more history because we only, like, first of all, Simu Lee, delicious, very good comedic actor. And he did it. He did a good job. I'm always on the fence about Awkwafina because I do find her to be problematic.
Let's move along.
Your face, though.
You know I don't.
Anyhow, they like, okay, let's talk about like some character issues. This is the problem that I have. Like, seeing the movie the first time, I actually had enjoyed it the first time that I saw it because on a first watch, like, we get America Chavez and Xochitl Gomez is great, very charismatic actor, very energetic. I loved her performance. All the acting is good. Even Rachel McAdams wasn't pissing me off. She seemed all right.
I thought she did a really good job.
Yeah, we ain't got beef, Rachel. We ain't got beef. We're cool. We're good. We're fine.
Okay.
Now, here's the thing. I have been falling down these rabbit holes for months because, like, there's been no new movies since the Spider-Man movie. And I already knew what was going to happen because I've started to adopt Robert's approach to spoilers, which is you can't spoil him.
Right.
You can't spoil him. So I
want to know the journey.
Yeah. So I knew that all three Spider-Mans, oh, sorry, spoilers. It's already spoiled. I knew that all the three Spider-Mans were going to be there and what it was going to be like and how it was going to be all the, like, but it still did not hamper my enjoyment.
Yeah.
I knew that there was going to be an Illuminati scene because there'd been all these leaks, but we were given to believe that one of them was going to be Black Panther, which I wasn't sure how that was going to work. That one of them was going to be Ultimate or Superior Iron Man or some version of Iron Man that I never heard of before, but it was going to be Tom Cruise. So I knew there was going to be stunt casting. So what was your take on the stunt casting of the Illuminati and how that whole thing played out?
Well, I think it was probably wasted on me because I didn't even know who the dude from the Fantastic Four was until you explained it to me after the movie.
That's fan casting right there. Like, people have been like ever since. Well, there have been 2 attempts to bring that. Well, 3 technically. If there was that ill-fated one in the 90s that was only shot because they were about to lose the rights, and it was a really low. It was never released. It's a cult kind of classic now, and people have been able to see it. Technically, that doesn't really count. The Marvel, there's been the ones with Jessica Alba, and then the last one, Fan Four Stick, with Michael B. Jordan as the Human Torch, and a bunch of white people whose names I can't remember right now. That was not a good movie. It was not a good movie. No. Didn't like it. No. So ever since Marvel got acquired back Fox, and Fox had originally, I believe it was Fox that owned the rights to the Fantastic Four and all these other characters. So now that they've got that back, they've been planning to make a Fantastic Four movie. And so people have been fan casting, and for a long time, people have been saying, well, what's a celebrity married couple that could be around the right age and has the acting ability? Oh, John Krasinski and Emily Blunt.
Well, I live for Emily.
Well, she was originally supposed to be Black Widow. But she had some scheduling issues, so she couldn't take the role. I think she would have been a fantastic Black Widow, but as a like the Invisible Woman or whatever could be okay. But that was like one of the things, like when we were in the theater, like, and now that I've seen it 3 times, the nerds lost their complete minds when John Krasinski came out there. Interesting side note, did you hear that Elizabeth Olsen literally passed a polygraph test that she was taking in one of these like PR kind of junkets, where she swore up and down, and she passed a polygraph test saying she never met John Krasinski. and she didn't even know he was in this movie.
Wow.
So either she's like the world's best liar, which maybe, or he was a last minute replacement, which I think is more likely. I think that they maybe did try to get Tom Cruise, or maybe they did have something like that going on. And then at the last minute, they decided to go another direction, because it's pretty clear that he didn't appear in any shot with anybody else really, in a way, except for like when he could have been easily like CGI'd in, like when Wanda makes him into spaghetti. Like, oh, I've got all the powers of the universe and you're like real flexible. Okay.
I mean, why was he going up against her?
I'm the smartest man in the universe. Let me go after this witch who just crossed the boundary of the multiverse.
Like, this woman is taking over another body in another universe, and the stretchy guy is her foe?
Ooh,
I don't get it.
I'm so flexible.
And I think that's why I was confused by this idea of the Illuminati. I was like, well, Charles Xavier, cool. Like, this Captain Marvel, cool. Like, who else was it? The dude who could talk you to death, cool.
That's me.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, and then it was somebody else, right?
Right. Well, the actual Illuminati, it's basically like it's a conglomeration of all these folks who are the leaders of various other big teams. So you've got Charles Xavier, because he's the leader of the X-Men, and
right.
then you've got Mr. Fantastic, because the Fantastic Four is like one of the like foundational like superhero teams in the MCU. You got Black Bolt, who is the leader of the Inhumans, who is actually one of the larger groups, because basically Too Long didn't read, for people who don't know who the fuck the Inhumans are, but unfortunately I had to learn about it because all my friends are nerds. So so the short and the long of it is that all the Inhumans got to live on the moon for some reason, and there's some kind of like mutating agent that is sprayed on you when you come to a certain age. And if you have this Inhuman, you're not a mutant, you're an Inhuman. It's basically the same thing, but like you just get called something different. But like your power will manifest once you've been sprayed with this spray or whatever. And there's a fuck ton of these guys running around all over the place. So now Wanda Maximoff was originally a mutant. Originally her daddy is Magneto, and he's the father of her and what's his face, Quicksilver, I guess. Yeah, they were both mutants, but of course at the time when they were making that movie, they couldn't say mutant. That's why they had the Inhumans IP, but they didn't have the mutants. So that's why she couldn't become a mutant. They couldn't even really say Scarlet Witch. That's why they just kept calling her Wanda. That's why you only start hearing her called Scarlet Witch now that Disney owns Fox, because Fox had all the mutants and they weren't allowed to use mutant. So Charles Xavier in charge of the mutants, Black Bolt's in charge of the Inhumans, Mr. Fantastic, Black Panther is on the Illuminati, and Doctor Strange. So those are the guys that are in charge. It can change, sometimes Namor shows up, sometimes Ultron shows up, like there's different versions of them across the multiverses or what have you. But everybody was losing their minds about this Illuminati thing, because what they expected was that this was going to be the entry way to bring all these mutants and the Fantastic Four and everybody into the MCU fold. And then she just killed everybody.
Yeah, why kill Charles Xavier?
Well, he's already old as shit. So, I mean, that motherfucker is in his 80s and he's still out here acting and being best friends with Magneto.
Well, my thinking about it is, are all the like going forward mutant movies gonna require it to be like, oh, we got to flash back to Charles Xavier, or are they gonna find a new old man to cast?
Well, no, because we already have, see, this is the problem. Like, this film was originally scheduled to happen before Spider-Man. And then because of COVID and scheduling and other shit, they had to flip it around. So this is the problem that I have with the film, is you can tell where they had to change things. Because first of all, at the end of Spider-Man, didn't Doctor Strange say when he was doing that spell, nobody's going to remember you. They're not going to remember Peter Parker as Spider-Man. They're not going to know who you are.
Yeah.
And then yet when we go back to that pizzeria scene with America Chavez, he's like, oh yeah, we had a multiverse thing with Spider-Man or whatever. So it seems like a little bit of a plot hole. Like Wong wasn't even there. Like Wong did say, don't fuck with this. Don't do this spell. That's stupid. But he should also not know anything about it because he wasn't part of it. So I'm a little bit unclear about that per se. Like, does this mean Doctor Strange remembers that he changed the world for Spider-Man, but he just doesn't now remember who Spider-Man is? I don't know, but it's weird. You can tell they had to do some rewrites, because I think originally it would have made more sense if the multiverse got opened because of all this fuckery. And then Spider-Man's like, oh shit is getting really real. Because it's a stupid thing like, oh, I don't want people to know that I'm Spider-Man's. Please change the entire world for me. That's the dumbest thing I ever heard.
But it's very much in line with a teenager.
A teenager, yes. But if Doctor Strange is so fucking smart, he should have been like, no, bitch, I ain't doing that. Figure it out. Like, talk to some, like, get a lawyer.
Doctor Strange is also, but Doctor Strange is also hella arrogant.
That's a problem.
So that makes sense that he would be like, you know what? This is a problem I can solve because I'm amazing. I'm the best. I can do it all.
Well, I did appreciate Christine pointing that out and saying you always have to be the one to hold the knife, because here's the problem that I have ultimately with this film is that it should have been, number one, it should have been a comedy, and number two, it should have been women helping women. Because America, literally though, America Chavez could have teamed up with the witch and they could have figured out a way to take her to a place where it's a whole bunch of orphans that need a mom. Instead of her being like, I don't give a shit which kids. I'll take whichever ones, even if they already have a mama. I'm gonna like metaphorically orphan these children so I can slide on in. Like,
why did he even, I'm a bit thrown off by her. I watched WandaVision.
Yeah, it didn't make sense after and you know who didn't watch WandaVision?
Clearly, whoever created this movie.
Sam Raimi, and he literally was just like, and this is what really pissed me off. When I saw this, I was like, everything becomes clear now. He says he only saw some scenes from it that directly informed her character. But the writer, another man, another white dude, who wrote this movie, came on and said, yeah, well, Wanda had to be the big bad. She had to be evil. Like, why? Why? I don't understand why she had to be evil, because we spent the entire fucking we spent all of WandaVision establishing that she was grieving for Vision so badly that she needed to go. Every single episode was a different stage of grief that she had to go through till finally she's worked out her shit. And then at the end of that, we hear her, she's using the Darkhold, which again, I have a problem with, because number one, it's a MacGuffin, and number two, it strips her of agency. Yes, fanboys, do I understand that Darkhold is part of the lore? You could eat my complete ass, bitch. I get that. I understand that there's a pre-existing narrative, but also I understand that it was written by a bunch of white dudes a long ass time ago, and I don't give a fuck. So make something new, okay? Which the MCU is very good at taking the lore and turning it on its head and doing different shit. But whenever it comes time to do a story about women, it's like, bitches be crazy. Oops, witches be crazy. And what are they crazy about? Oh, she lost her man. Now she's crazy for an entire series. Oh, she lost her kids that she had for 3 seconds. Now we got a whole ass movie because she's crazy.
That didn't make sense to me. Because here's my thing. I would have enjoyed this better if Wanda had just been an actual villain who was like, bitch, I'm hell-bent on taking over all this shit. Y'all took my man for a useless sacrifice because you told me that taking that shit out of his head and killing him was gonna save us, and it didn't save shit. Like, we had to wait 5 years without all these people and bring them back, which meant you could have left my man where he was. You know what I'm saying? If we was gonna end up fucked anyway. But no, you made this decision and it cost me my man. So guess what? You decided to fuck me for the world, fuck the world. Like that right there would have been, because in that situation, it's like, y'all decided to fuck me over. It's kind of about our man, but it's mostly like, bitch, I'm mad.
That makes more sense, because my problem with it is that the more I thought about it, they're like, oh, the Darkhold tempts you and it overtakes you and it corrupts you. And it's like, you basically have said that Wanda is irredeemable because she's been corrupted by the Darkhold, but then you had Strange use it, and then he pops out a third eye and he's like, I'm cool, bitch, it's fine. Like, how is that different? Does the penis make you better able to deal with the Darkhold? Because it seems like every other iteration of Strange failed incredibly miserably and cannot be trusted.
And that's why I was like, that's my issue with like characters like Doctor Strange. Like, he can't fail or everything goes to shit, which means he has to win.
Right.
And like, that's kind of why I just don't really get into comic book movies like that. Like, I enjoy watching the movies with y'all, and I enjoy listening to y'all talk about them and stuff like that. And I do like the Doctor Strange movies because they're kind of fun, you know, like the mirror universes and the folding and jumping through these little portals and shit. I find that interesting because I like magic. But I don't really care for the hero type shit because it's like heroes always have to like win, or everything goes to shit. Like,
that's why Infinity War was so good, because they did not win.
Then they came back and figured out a way to win.
We knew they were gonna win, but at least we had one film that ended like it's like Empire Strikes Back. Like, they didn't win at the end of that movie. That's a fucked up film. Like, they're on the run. He lost his hand. Like, shit is going downhill quickly.
You know what that made me think of when you just said that? Nicolas Cage in Moonstruck. I lost my
bride. Johnny has his head. Johnny has his bride.
He is such a terrible actor.
But he's so good though. Speaking of Nick Cage, so Ghost Rider is going to be making a comeback in the MCU, but they're recasting. Guess who they're talking about potentially making the new Ghost Rider? Keanu.
So did Nicolas Cage play this role already?
He did it in at least two movies. I've seen both of them, and he does play Ghost Rider.
Does he have like a skeleton head?
Skeleton head that's like also on fire. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
That tells you how little I know about these damn movies.
Which is ironic because he almost played Superman, and it would have been directed by Tim Burton. And the film was called Superman Lives. And it was also original. There's an entire documentary about it. I'm kind of obsessed with this. It was going to be, the script was going to be by Kevin Smith, starring Nick Cage as a new improved Superman with this crazy ass suit that was going to be all light up and shit. Like, it had like all kinds of like fiber optic lights all through it. And then Tim Burton was going to direct it. I mean, it sounded batshit cuckoo bananas. And it all went to shit. It never actually happened. It would have been amazing to see it.
Amazingly bad?
I think so, but also I don't know if I could not watch it.
Well, see, you know I live for a bad movie.
Especially
I love a horrible movie.
He named his son Kal-El, which is Superman's birth name. I don't know if it's Kal-El Coppola or Kal-El Cage, but Nick Cage is a Coppola. He's a low-key Coppola. He didn't want people to know, as if we wouldn't find out. We all know. But I don't know if his child's actual birth name is Cage or Coppola, but can you imagine Kal-El Coppola?
I would be so upset with my parents naming me Kal-El.
Well, Kevin Smith named his daughter Harley Quinn.
What the fuck is wrong? Rich people got
Harley Quinn.
No. Mama, thank you. Thank you.
But I mean,
thank you.
Back to this movie. Like, here's the thing. You watch Rick and Morty ever?
Yeah, of course.
Well, Rick and Morty, I feel like already, because you know how it used to be this thing on South Park. Simpsons did it, which of course they did, because they've been on, like, I was 16 years old when the first Simpsons show came out, but I also watched Tracy Ullman when the interstitial, like the original Simpsons, like little mini cartoons were on, like in the commercial breaks. So I'm 48, y'all. That show is still on. That's not right. You can, but also, I mean, you cannot maintain that kind of quality for that long, right? I mean, but in 30 some years, you're going to literally run out of ideas. And that's kind of like how I feel like the MCU really needs to take some risks. I understand that it's corporate, Disney, and like Kevin Feige, who's like in charge of this whole thing. He's got a plan. He's always got a plan. He's got these phases. It's very scientific, whatever. But the problem is they've had people like Edgar Wright, amazing filmmaker. He did he did like whatever Baby Driver and
Okay.
my favorite Scott what's his face, you know the one I'm talking about, the Scott Blobbity Blue and all the evil exes or whatever. That's
got it.
And he also did Hot Fuzz
Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah, Scott Pilgrim. And he did like the entire Cornetto trilogy, like Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz.
Okay.
Yeah, and End of the World.
Okay.
He's an amazing filmmaker. He's got a great sensibility, good comedic timing. Yeah. He was supposed to direct Ant-Man, and then for whatever reason he pulled out. And I think the reason is that they were just like, you must use these characters, you must do this, you must do that. And like that's what happened to Sam Raimi when he was doing Spider-Man. Like when he was making the third Spider-Man film, they're like, we need more villains. And he's like, but why though? And that's how we ended up with the abortion that was Spider-Man 3. And you can kind of see Disney's imprimatur in this film because they're like, you gotta set up this and you gotta set up that, and it's gonna be Secret Wars, and then we gotta get Dormammu's niece, put her in there, like all this shit gotta happen. So there's so much setup. It means there's not as much room to improvise. And here's the thing, like Rick and Morty has been about multiverses this entire time. This show's been on for years. They had an episode that literally in 22 minutes did what this film could not do, which is, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen Rick and Morty, Rick Potion number 9, but in this episode, and this is the first season of this show, in this episode, Rick is really into this girl. He wants her to like him. She don't like him. He asks his grandpa, who is a genius inventor, who's created this portal gun, which allows him to travel through the infinite multiverse. And he's also doing whatever. He's like, do you have a love potion? And he's like, yeah, but you really shouldn't use it. But here it is anyway. And then as Rick gives it to Morty and Morty goes off, he's like, it's fine as long as nobody has the flu. And then at the anti-flu dance, Morty uses the potion and suddenly everybody's in love with him. But it turns out that the flu interacts to turn everybody into Cronenberg monsters. So, like, I mean, that might not be, there may be a couple more steps though, but like, because everybody starts getting obsessed with Morty and now he wants to deactivate it. But because everybody's also got the flu, all of the antidotes that Rick comes up with don't work. And eventually the entire world turns into mostly these weird Cronenberg monsters. So Rick is like, I think we need to dip out of this universe and find another one. And so he locates a universe where him and Morty's counterparts die in an accident in the garage, and then they slip in right at that moment, take their own counterparts' corpses, bury them in the backyard, and then they assume the roles so they're not even, so the current Rick and Mortys aren't even living with their original family. They abandoned their original family in the Cronenberg timeline. They're still there. They're still there. The whole family is still there. And they're actually kind of living their best life. You know, like Summer is sitting inside of this piece of cardboard, reenacting like Die Hard and shit, or Jaws or whatever. And the parents are actually loving each other because they're just running out here, just like killing Cronenbergs and eating Cronenbergs for dinner. But they did that in one episode. And the lore of Rick and Morty it encompasses this citadel of Ricks.
Right.
All these Ricks are basically the Illuminati, and all the Ricks from the various universe, sometimes they're without a Morty, or sometimes there's an orphaned Morty. So it's like get a Morty, leave a Morty. And occasionally people like will bring Jerry along on an adventure and they'll park him at the Jerry. There's like a daycare for Jerry and they give you a chit. And it's really implied that the current Jerry that they have is not their original Jerry because they got the chits mixed up and they took the wrong Jerry home with them. So he's not even their OG Jerry. He's still not the OG Jerry because he's from the universe that they jumped into after they left their original universe. But the thing about it is that Rick has said nothing matters, which is also a theme from Everything Everywhere All the Time. Like, in an infinite universe of multiverses, nothing matters because it doesn't matter. Like, no matter what you do, somebody has also done it or not done it.
Right.
Every iteration. So for me to believe that there is an infinite multiverse and there isn't a single one where those boys have not been orphaned and she could just pop in and take over without there being an incursion, I don't believe it.
Yeah, I mean, if that, like, listening to you explain this, I think what you just said makes sense. I obviously don't know that much about this, but I will say this about this. Her name's America Chavez, right?
Yes.
Okay. Why would somebody with that power be so helpless?
I'm glad you pointed that out because so the Saturday morning after you and I and our crew went to see this film, my friend called me up as he was driving the 6-hour drive downstate Illinois to visit his mom for Mother's Day. He's like, I gotta talk to somebody about this film. Oh my God, here are the issues. And one of his #1 issues was how America Chavez got nerfed. Now, for those of you who don't know what that means, nerfing means taking somebody who has amazing power and reducing their powers down till they're basically helpless. So America Chavez is not a chump. She can literally punch a hole through the walls of reality. So
that's what I'm saying.
And fly, and she can punch hella hard. So introducing her as a 14-year-old kid is kind of some bullshit because even at 14, her character flaw is she's so confident. She's never like, I don't know how to use my power. She's like, I'm punching holes through all y'all bitches.
Yeah.
Stand in my way. I'm punching a hole through you, and it's a star-shaped hole. I'm gonna go right through your ass. And she can just punch anything, and she can fly. So usually she's too full of herself, and that's kind of her fatal flaw. So to make her like, I need help, and I'm trying to like, how is it that we have 3 really strong female characters here? We got Christine, who's out here like, oh, let me get this urn and start killing these spirits, which good on her, right? Like, she's killing it. She got a hot husband now, good on her, like looking good. That was a nice wedding dress. I'm like, yes, bitch, you go. So she's killing it over here. I also appreciated how the flower girls were just like, did you see their faces? They're just like, this is some bullshit. Like, they were just throwing those flowers. Like, bullshit. But like, it should have been Christine and America Chavez could have got together with Wanda and been like, listen, bitch, okay? In an infinite world of infinite possibilities, there's gotta be one place that you can we can figure it out. Like, I just worked with America to help her learn her power instead of everybody trying to suck it out of her.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I don't. But see, this is why I never really got into like comic book type shit, because it's just so egregious sometimes. Like, America Chavez should not have been a weakling. Now, I'm not even mad about like the Scarlet Witch chasing her and things like that. Like, it ain't how I would write it, but fine. But why did she have to be weak and need the doctor to help her when she got this power? Like, I just don't understand why you had to write it that way. Like, why couldn't they become friends and team up to utilize both of their skill sets without making her a chump?
That's exactly what
I don't like that.
That's exactly what I'm saying, because my problem with Wanda is that she keeps losing her agency. Like, she goes through this amazing arc, she goes through her grief, and then suddenly we're back to square one because a bitch didn't have the time to watch a 6-episode show where the episodes
That was
were
actually pretty good.
which was really good. And here's the thing, when I came out of that movie, I was thinking it should not have been called Multiverse of Madness. It should have been called Doctor Strange, A Lack of Vision. Because if, first of all, where's White Vision? He's still floating around somehow. He was there for Westview. He saw all of that. Where the fuck was he? Why was Wanda, like, why was she so desperate to get these kids instead of Vision? If she knew that the multiverse was real, why the fuck wasn't she out there trying to find Vision?
But also, I'm gonna be real with you, having seen WandaVision in this movie, I don't understand where the kids came from, because weren't they a figment of her imagination in WandaVision?
So here's the thing.
Am I confused?
You are not confused.
Okay.
In reality, yes, she created the children. However, and though Dr. Strange kept gaslighting her about it, yeah, is he technically correct that the children were not real in that reality, in the MCU reality, or the 616 as they called it, which my niece told me is the incorrect appellation for this universe, because the 616 is the comics continuity, the MCU is the cinematic continuity. So whatever the 838 universe is saying that they're calling the MCU, that is not what the MCU should be called, apparently, because the nerds have decreed it. So, but with respect to Wanda's kids, so, okay. Her children in the comics are technically creations of this character called Mephisto, who's basically like the devil of the MCU, but he has a lot of power. And each of those children was like one of Mephisto's fingers or some shit. Listen, people were smoking a lot of weird things and doing a lot of weird drugs in the 70s or whenever they came up with this shit. But like, yeah, her kids, I don't know that she actually birthed them. Somehow they're still her and Vision's kids, but yeah, Mephisto had something to do with it. So, but who gives a shit? Who cares? She's already floating around and flying and shooting shit out of her hands, so the kids can be whatever. And in some universes, clearly they are her biological children. In some universes, they're synthezoids. In some universes, maybe they're magically created, but who cares? Like, at the end of WandaVision, you could distinctly hear the kids saying, "Mom, help us. Help us." So the idea was that she maybe did have kids, or her kids, even if they were creations of her own, maybe they were still out there somewhere, and that she was going to go rescue them. Why couldn't it have been a rescue mission? And then maybe she went a little bit crazy. But for her to be like, I don't give a fuck whose kids or whose body I got to take over. I'm taking over this bitch's body, and then I'm going to murder everybody. Like, her children would know the difference. I mean, see how at the end of it, it was literally America, like, I'm gonna give you what you want, except she didn't. She put you into a reality where you didn't ought to be. She should have put you in a reality with these orphans, and the kids were like, we don't know you. We don't need you. We would prefer to not have you around, whatever. I don't know, but it's like, it could have been handled better. And I feel like the problem is we still got this corporate entity and a bunch of white ass men deciding what has to happen. And then they'll throw in these women characters, and then you get all the fanboys losing their shit. They're like, oh, it's too woke. But what happens? Peggy Carter shows up and gets eviscerated. Ms. Captain Marvel shows up, and now we got a black Captain Marvel finally. Her ass gets a freaking thing dropped on her, which I don't think that would kill Captain Marvel.
That's what I'm like, that's what I'm saying. Like, so much of this stuff is so weird. Like, if Wanda had like ripped her apart or something like that, fine. But she got crushed by something? Like, isn't this a person who spends all her time in like the vacuum of space?
Literally,
like,
our Captain Marvel shot through one of those giant Thanos ships. She just shot right.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
you're telling me a statue killed this bitch? I don't believe
appalled. I love that what was her name? Captain UK or something like that?
Oh, yeah, Peggy Carter, yeah.
Man, I love that her shield sliced her in half. That shit was
cool. Well, you know, that's kind of a callback to, I don't know if you watched the What If series, but in the What If series, it's like, well, what if Peggy took the serum instead of Steve? And then later on, she comes back and she does use her, the shield is used to cut somebody in half with. And I do believe it was zombie Captain America. The shield got, and it might have been Spider-Man who did it in that instance. So she's really cool, and we need to see more of Captain Carter because she's super dope. I love her acting. Fantastic. I know that we are gonna, like, in the new Captain Marvel movie, it's gonna be The Marvels, because we have Ms. Marvel is getting her own show. People already have issues with her because she's Muslim and she's like a teen girl, and in the comics her fists get really big. She's sort of like Mr. Fantastic, like she gets really giant fists and can super punch. And they're changing the powers because it looks stupid. Like, listen, when Reed Richards was turned into spaghetti, I mean, it looked kind of dumb.
Yeah, that wasn't, I mean, fine, that power is perfectly fine, but why is he one on the Illuminati for stretching? I mean, I guess he's so smart, that's why he's on there. But like when it's time to fight, the most powerful magical being, it seems like in the multiverse at this point,
put
why
Captain Marvel
are
in the
you
front.
there?
Because, like, no shade to Captain Carter or Captain America, but they ain't supernatural. Like, they have super strength compared to humans, but they can't shoot anything out of their head. They can't fly. Okay, yeah, you can throw your shield around, but if somebody catches your shield and throws it back to you, you're fucked. Because they're not like bulletproof. The bendiness is stupid. I mean, like, he's super smart. Apparently, in this universe, he created the Ultron robots and they didn't get evil. Okay, cool. But again, if you're so smart, Reed Richards, if you're the smartest man in the universe, why the fuck do you go up against the Scarlet Witch? Like I would have been in a bunker somewhere. I would have been dipping the fuck out. Like, I probably would have listened to Doctor Strange. Like, okay, well, this motherfucker came from her universe. Like, he might know something. We don't have to trust everything he says just because, but I also think it's weird, like, y'all recognize that there are other universes in the multiverse. So you killed your doctor. Cool. Your doctor was corrupted by the Darkhold, I guess? The Darkhold, yeah. Cool. But now y'all got this other, like, anti-Darkhold book. If this doctor's telling you, like, hey, I need that book to kill her because she's fucking with the Darkhold, why don't the smart dude go and help him, watch him? You know what I'm saying? Like, you and his brother, who's also like, get the Ultron guys there, supervising. Let's look up the spell that we need. That's what I'm saying. Like, where's the you know, imagination. These movies have no imagination. And even though I enjoyed this movie, I am always left like, oh, but see, I don't know, like, I've never gotten into fandom like that because I'm okay with you changing the story. Like, just because it's not what happened in the book, I'm cool with that. Like, I don't expect that to be the thing. It's different people. It's different times. Like, this shit was written way in the past. Like, think about the technology that we have to show things. Like, we see technology like that. Like, I literally just saw a thing on YouTube of a little robot that will pick somebody up out of a bed who can't use their legs. They will lean over it. The robot will drive them to the couch and set them on the couch. Like, we have robots already. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have a robot in my house that sweeps them off my floor. Like, we got robots. Like, use your imagination. Like, that's really, I'm gonna be real with you. This has gone way beyond this movie, but this is my problem with everybody who's making movies and TV and these executives and shit like that. Like, y'all paying these CEOs so much money, but like, it seems like everybody is trying to be so fucking formulaic. Like, take a chance, do something interesting. Like, if you take a chance, you might get a new audience, but y'all want to keep the same old audience. Like, fuck that. I love Taika Waititi because he's like, oh, you've got a script? Fuck you, I don't care. We're gonna improvise this bitch. That's what I'm saying. Try some new shit. It makes money. This is the thing. It makes money. Like those first two Thor movies. Well, the first one was it was okay. It was Kenneth Branagh. He decided it was going to be Hamlet. I appreciated it. The acting was good. They looked really hot. I'm here for that. Second movie, You had a Doctor Who, and nobody even realized because he was under so much makeup, and it was really stupid. And then the third one comes along, and it's amazing. And we're gonna see another Thor movie coming out in a few months here with Natalie Portman as the mighty Thor, and regular Thor is off doing his own thing. And I think when you give a really good filmmaker like Ryan Coogler, I still like, and I know people have issues with Black Panther because of the final battle, but here's the thing, they already decide, like, this is just like what Robert was saying, the powers that be at Marvel have this entire previs or pre-visualization component where years in advance, because this type of technology, like when you watch the final credits, you see like all these different countries because they're using every single CGI house in Canada, India, New Zealand, fucking where the fuck ever. Like they take all of these, because it takes so many animators to make this stuff. They start pre-visualizing these big battle scenes years in advance.
Yeah.
Years in advance. So Ryan Coogler was probably told, at the end, you got to have a big old battle, and this is what it's going to look like.
But I see, and that's the shit. I think that too often these white directors of these movies don't give a fuck about what somebody else did. Because I'm not gonna lie, that shit at the end of that, what was that, where they had the big ass fight in Wakanda?
Yeah,
I was offended by that bullshit.
Me too.
Because Ryan Coogler took so much care in building a beautiful world that lived up to the standard that we heard from the comic books. But instead, these white dudes were like, fuck it, it's Africa, it ain't shit. Like, it's the most technologically advanced country in the world.
Look at this other show that took all this time and care with these characters and did all this thing and built this character up and had an opportunity to really go into their psyche and build them up. No, bitches be crazy, and either they need their man or they need a child. Like, they just crazy. And they don't have any agency because the book is in their mind. If at least she chose, if she personally chose to go batshit crazy, if it was at least her decision, fine. But she didn't even have any agency there. And that's what really made me mad. And the fact that the fucking director has the audacity to come out and be like, yeah, you know, I have passing glance at some of these scenes. Fuck you. If I as a fan am expected to have watched Loki, so I understand the theory of the multiverse, watch Spider-Man No Way Home, watch fucking all of WandaVision to figure out who the fuck the Scarlet Witch is and what her deal is, and then come to this film with all this homework, because basically the MCU has turned into an elaborate homework thing where if you miss one or two movies, you don't know what the fuck is going on. Because even with all my knowledge, at the end of this, here comes Charlize Theron dressed in purple, like, I got this knife, bloop, bloop, let's go fight some bitches. Like, I'm just getting kind of tired of the fact that these guys are coming in and they're totally, like, if the MCU really is an interconnected universe and there is some kind of plan, then hire people, trust them to do what they're going to do, and let them have artistic latitude to change in a way that could really make something really interesting moving forward, and don't like shackle them to this idea that we have to do this, that, or the other thing. And I understand that we have to set certain things up, but I feel like this Charlize Theron reveal at the end of Doctor Strange was problematic in that it really was such a deep cut, you know?
I mean, I hear she's somebody's niece, but I'm like,
yeah.
Have we seen food in a movie? Like, did I need to go watch it?
Was the big bad in the dark dimension that Doctor Strange
has he been in a movie?
He was in Doctor Strange's first movie. Remember, like at the end of Doctor Strange, he finds out that the Ancient One had really been drawing power from the dark dimension, and he was like, way about it. And so he's like, well, I gotta go fight Dormammu. And then he realized, I can't fight Dormammu. So he basically created this time loop where he would just keep fighting Dormammu forever. And so they came to some kind of an agreement that, like, we'll just leave each other alone. And apparently Clea is Dormammu's niece.
Okay.
So she is sometimes a sorcerer supreme in her universe. Occasionally she's become the sorcerer supreme of whatever, I guess the 616 universe, she has been lovers and married to Doctor Strange. So, I mean, one of the big issues that I had with this Doctor Strange thing is that this Christine stuff, because here's the thing, in the last 6 movies in which Doctor Strange has appeared, he's been nothing but a dick to her. Like, first of all, in his first movie, he was a complete dick to her. He never made up with her. He just kind of like, it just kind of like ended with him like, without ever figuring out what was going on. And then with one episode of What If, we're supposed to believe that in that universe where he was obsessed with her and kept trying to change time so that she wouldn't die, but it turns out she absolutely has to die in this universe or else he never becomes Doctor Strange, to the point where he literally destroys his universe and it's just him in a pocket universe because he's destroyed everything else. Because once he does finally get all the magic to bring her back, he's so dark and demented that when she sees him, she's like, oh, hell no. Hard pass, bro. You got tentacles and shit now. I am not here for the tentacles, all right? And so that's the only Strange that we see who's obsessed with her. And then at the end of this movie, he's like, Christine, I love you in every dimension and every timeline. I'm like, really though? Because you were a complete dick to her before. And then you come to her wedding? What kind of a person who cares about you as a former lover? Have you ever been to a former lover's wedding?
No.
Would you go?
No.
Why would you do that? What? And also, you are
especially somebody you claim you're in love with.
Right. First of all, that is a dick move. That is a bullshit fucking move. First of all, that is some stuff that people would literally be writing, dear, am I the asshole? I am a supreme being of magical abilities who has maybe saved the world a few times. You might know me. And am I the asshole because I went to my ex-girlfriend's wedding and leapt off of a balcony and went to fight a tentacle monster?
Yes.
Like, yes, you are. Yes, you are. And you can try and lampshade that shit with like, oh, Charlie's your biggest fan. No. Why? First of all, Christine did not invite him. There is no way she invited him to that wedding. He just decided to come. Stop him. He could just go, and there he is. Like, he just shows up. Like, he doesn't even tie his own tie. He's like, the tie's tied.
I'm just like,
but like, who does that? That is bullshit. If you really love somebody, are you going to draw their focus on that day? No wonder the flower girls were so pissed off. It's like, oh, Christine's going to be pissed about this. It's my perfect day. That motherfucker had the audacity to show up. Like, even the 7-year-olds know that ain't right. Your 14-year-old sister knew that wasn't right. She was like, why did you go to the wedding though?
right, like, what the, like, I do remember thinking like, what the fuck's going on here? But, you know, I was just like, you know what? Maybe it's just some shit that I don't understand. You know, sometimes white people do weird shit that I don't get.
Shit, white people don't do shit like that unless they're trying to be super petty.
Okay.
And you wouldn't do that. Like, if I was at, well, first of all, I didn't have a wedding, but if I had one and my ex-boyfriend was there, I'd been like, hold up for a minute. What the fuck are you doing here? Get the fuck out my wedding, you piece of shit. Who do you think you are? Get out of here. Rewind, start up that wedding march, get the fuck out. Let's try again. Like, flower girls, you better pick those things up. We're doing this again. Take 2.
Fuck it, we're doing it live.
I'm gonna need 2 shots of Malort. We're doing it live. So here's the thing. I have never, first of all, I don't think they have chemistry together as an acting team. Not the way that Ms. Natalie Portman almost like salivates every time she's in a scene with Chris Hemsworth. She looks like she wants to lick his nipples. Let's just be real. She's nipple height. Be like,
Oh, Lord.
she maybe got on her tippy toes a little bit. The motherfucker's 6'4". So it'd be like, like, let's just be real. Every time she's in a scene with him, you could tell he's getting moist. And look, I know you're married to a sexy ballerino or whatever, or she was at some point. Like, she's got a husband. But damn, though, Chris Hemsworth's married too. But listen,
With a lot of kids.
Well, if you were married to Christopher Hemsworth, Esquire, would you not be jumping on that shit all the time? Like, I would just be like,
I love that you made him an Esquire.
to have a body like that. Like, he needs to be arrested for that much sexiness. Like, even fat Thor, I would fuck up hard. Like, I don't give a shit if you're fat, bro. We are doing this because you got that mystical hammer, and guess who's worthy? Worthy.
This
take it. It's worthy. I'm just saying, I understand that Rachel McAdams is some kind of like romantic lady thing. Her and Ryan Gosling or whatever, okay, I guess. But like, I don't buy her and Bender snatch cummerbund or whatever. I don't buy them together. I just don't find him sexy. I've never found, like, the sexiest I ever found him was in Sherlock. And I felt like him and Watson really should have got together. Even him and Moriarty could have got together because they had more chemistry. Like, he has more chemistry with men than he does with women. I just don't see him. Anytime he seems like, oh, I love women, I'm like, do you though? Because you don't seem like you've ever even. It's like, here's a pussy. Is this what I do?
Oh my God.
Am I doing it right? Because I don't feel like he would be a good lay.
Well,
He's a freak. I don't know, but I don't feel like he's the kind that I feel like he'd be like, oh, I'm here for a bit of rumpy pumpy. Yes, well, like, I don't feel it. So I did not buy that he loves her across every timeline and he would do everything in the world with her. I do see why they would want to bring in somebody like Academy Award winner Charlize Theron, which your niece. Sorry, your younger sister was just like, damn, she's a good actor. I really liked her in Monster. And then I'm like, wait, who let you see that movie? Your sister has really good taste in films. So she saw that Alien Wuornos movie that Charlize Theron got her Oscar for.
She acted her ass off in that movie. I hate that movie. I cannot watch it ever again.
No, right? But I mean, she's too good for the MCU. But then I saw her in Mad Max and I was just like, she can do like pretty much anything. So I'm interested to see where this goes. This is basically Secret Wars is going to be happening. Do you know what Secret Wars is about?
You know, I don't know what the hell that is.
Okay, well, there's two secret crossover events. There's Secret Invasion, which is where we find out that a whole bunch of people that we thought were human or some other kind of character are actually Skrulls. You know the Skrulls, right? The green people. So in Captain Marvel, we got introduced to the Skrulls.
Oh, yes.
And so originally the Skrulls are like, they're the big bad. And then we find out that all these people that we thought were human this whole time were actually Skrulls the whole time. And remember how we found out that the Fury, the Nick Fury that we thought was on the Earth during, this was at the end of one of these films, but it turned out we thought it was Nick Fury, but it was a Skrull instead.
Yes, I remember that.
There is a Skrull posing as Nick Fury right now, and Nick Fury's in space.
Okay.
So we thought they were preparing for a secret invasion plotline, which they still may be. That was one of these big crossover stories where we started finding out that all of these big characters were actually Skrulls and had taken over. So you couldn't trust anybody because there were Skrulls in the Avengers, there were Skrulls in the X-Men, there were Skrulls.
I remember that.
Everybody. Now, Secret Wars is about where there's so many of these incursions like going on, and there's all these multiverses happening. So apparently Dr. Doom had something to do with it, and he's the big bad in Fantastic Four, who we do not yet have in the multiverse of the MCU yet. He apparently had something to do with it, but apparently the long and the short of it is, apparently they decide to, all the remnants of the existing universes are taken together on like a big battle world. And so you have all these like continents of like, this is the 616 and the 838 and the this and the that and the other thing. And they're all just kind of battling for supremacy. So that seems to be where it's going. And when Clea came out and said, we got another incursion we got to sort out. So apparently all of these multiverses are kind of like collapsing in on each other, and there'll be a big old battle, and all these various realities are going to be fighting. And that's an opportunity for them to bring in the X-Men, or to create a new version of the X-Men, for them to bring in their own Fantastic Four, which they've already decided that they're going to do. So there's a lot of stuff that's going to be happening.
Okay.
I hope there's some way for Wanda to be redeemed in all of this, because as we well know, in any multiverse, nothing matters, because you kill one Wanda, there's an infinite variety of other Wandas elsewhere.
Absolutely. But Wanda didn't die when that shit collapsed on her. Come the fuck on.
Now,
Just like Captain Marvel, the black version, didn't die from a statue.
I don't believe Maria Rambeau died from a statue. Maybe she got knocked out briefly just because her hand was a little bit limp. Okay, maybe she got knocked out and concussed. But listen, if you
like, she didn't even get smashed to smithereens. Like, if she had gotten like smashed into a puddle, okay, but it didn't happen. Like, I don't even know much about these people, but I'm just saying, like, you gave me this information and you expect me to believe this bullshit, and I'm not buying it.
No, I don't believe Black Captain Marvel went out like that.
I don't think any Captain Marvel would.
No,
because I know the white Captain Marvel is a badass motherfucker.
And that's
and she don't take nobody's shit.
That's why people are mad at her, is because she's got so much power, and she and the Scarlet Witch are two of the most powerful people in the MCU, and I think people really have problems with that, because you know, vagina having and also having mad powers makes people feel some type of way.
Here's my thing. They got the power. This don't make no damn sense that she would die from that either of these people would die from things falling on them. If Doctor Strange can survive every goddamn thing, you not finna convince me that Wanda Maximoff / Scarlet Witch died from some shit that she tore down collapsing on her.
Yeah, couldn't she still just like put a little bubble around her or something?
That's what I'm thinking. Like,
it's dumb. Why do you have to go out that way? That makes no sense. And also, where the fuck was White Vision this whole time? Like, where the fuck was he at?
I don't know who that is. So,
well, at the end of WandaVision, they took Vision's synthesoid body, because like he originally was comprised of the AI that was Jarvis, Mind Stone, which was destroyed, so that they could defeat Thanos, or returned back to its place in the time stream. I don't fucking understand. This is a time heist. Anywho, and then you had the synthesoid body that was created by Ultron, which Thor also used some like thunder power to kind of create. I'm still a little bit 100% confused about how Vision was born, but he's all those things. But when so Wanda made her own version of Vision, which was her mind version or her magic version, and White Vision was the creation, I guess, like Shield wanted to defeat Wanda because she took over that whole town. Let's be real, she mind wiped an entire town and forced them to live out episodes of like old TV shows.
Yes.
So they were trying to free these people. So they had the dead Vision synthesoid body, and they figured out a way to reactivate him with a new AI. And then at the end, like the last episode, we have Magic Vision basically talking to White Vision and did some Schrodinger's box bullshit or something on him, like some mind jiggery pokery, where he's like, yo, have you ever heard the thing about that ship of Theseus? And White Vision is like, no, I just got born. And so he's like, yeah, the myth of the ship of Theseus is that you've got this ship, right? And if you keep repairing it over the years and changing parts of it to the point where every single part has been replaced, is it in fact the same ship? And then White Vision was like, good point. I'm Vision, I'm out, yo. And he left. Like they fought a little bit, but mostly it was like ship of Theseus. Oh, good point. Boop, I'm out.
I don't get it.
I don't get it either.
Because if you replace everything, it's a new ship, right?
So I think basically what he convinced him was, you're also Vision or something, I guess. Because at the end, the White Vision said, I am Vision. Even though it's like, but are you though? Because what is Vision? If Vision has all these parts and you're another version of Vision, but you're different parts, are you still Vision? And I guess White Vision decided, yeah, I guess I'm Vision.
Interesting.
I'm still not 100%
It
sure.
sounds like some comic book fanboy bullshit to me.
He's real in the comic books.
Well, no, this is fine. You know what I'm saying? Like, but it sounds like comic book bullshit to me.
It was bullshit because I'm still not sure how Magic Vision convinced White Vision to fuck off and leave everybody alone instead of trying to stop whatever, because he just decided to fly away. But he's still out there. And Wanda could have hooked up with him, or he could have figured out something was going on, or I don't understand why he wasn't in this film.
Because they didn't know he was in the show.
If they did not know that White Vision was out there, there's 5 million guys ready to come into your DMs to tell you all about.
Right, but those people will also eat this shit up.
True.
And act like it's perfect. And while they'll do their little commentaries about it, they are still going to go and spend all their money. They're going to spend hours and hours analyzing this shit. I mean, I feel like we done spent hours and hours analyzing this shit, and I'm not even really a fan. I'm just like, okay, my people want to go see it. Let's go see it. Like, it's some shit to do. And they're not bad. Like, I really like that last Spider-Man movie.
That was fun. And I mean, I don't think this movie had some good qualities to it. I mean, a lot of the visuals were fun. I mean, Sam Raimi definitely put his imprimatur on.
I loved when she attacked what's their stronghold called?
Oh yeah, a Camartage.
When she attacked that shit, and she like fucked up that motherfucking force field by just like getting into one dude's head. And that's what you're thinking, like, you told me in this movie that she was powerful enough to come in here and fuck up all the people with the magic. And now you want me to think that, one, she couldn't catch America in this weakened state that y'all have created, and that Stephen Strange, who is not the Sorcerer Supreme, is like so powerful and amazing that he could somehow defeat her by going to a different world. She literally took over a woman in another universe. Like, I don't think that these people who are writing these movies understand how to tell stories.
Agreed. That is 100%, because they no, seriously, they're like, we need a bad guy. Wanda's the bad guy. But instead of thinking about like, but she's an incredibly complex character. She's gone through many ups and downs. Yeah. She's sort of like Black Widow in the sense that she got red on her ledger too. She was working for Hydra for a long time, but she's also had her agency taken away because they experimented on her to give her those powers. And then she was fighting against S.H.I.E.L.D. And then she came over onto the other side, but she's kind of ambiguous. Sometimes she goes a little crazy and decides she's going to do whatever the fuck she wants to. She has the power to remake reality. She has chaos magic. That is her magic. What a lot of us thought was going to happen is that she was going to do a reverse House of M. House of M is the very famous storyline where Wanda is so fucking sad about losing her kids that she destroys all mutants. She in one word, she just says no more mutants, and all the mutants lose their powers. There's very few mutants left. We thought it was gonna, because like the way that the MCU works is they usually flip the script a little bit. We were like, what if she says, yes, all mutants? And like suddenly, now we got X-Men. Now we got the Fantastic Four. Now we got all these Inhumans running around. We got all this shit because she's brought it in. And that's where we thought the Illuminati was going. We thought it was going to be more than just a big fuck you, which was like, hey, y'all, we hear you like the Illuminati and all these alternative stunt casted characters. Well, guess what they did? So like, it was just like a wasted opportunity. Like, did I enjoy watching John Krasinski get noodled? Yes.
Of course.
Absolutely. I love that shit. I mean, here's the thing. Black Bolt has been getting done so dirty because that Inhuman show was disgusting. I could barely make it through the first episode and I never watched another episode. It was bad, but he's an amazing actor. Anson Mount actually is the new Captain Christopher Pike in Star Trek Strange New Worlds. And Christopher Pike was the captain who was right before Kirk. And he's the, like, I know a lot of Star Trek because my dad made me watch it when I was growing up. And the first pilot of Star Trek actually had Christopher Pike as the captain, number one as a woman, and then Spock was in there too. But they were like, oh, you know what? We can't have the woman have that much power. That's some bullshit. Make her the nurse. So this actor, who was actually married to Gene Roddenberry at the time, she became Nurse Chapel, who then has the hots for Spock, which is kind of weird that you're married to this woman and you're writing her like, I would do such nasty things to that Vulcan. Ooh, you better watch out when it's Pon Farr, bitch, because you about to all 7 years worth of fucking you ain't done. It's about to get did to you.
Oh Lord.
By me, Nurse Chapel. So so that pilot didn't get, they decided they wanted to rework the pilot so that the first original couple episodes, now I don't know if this was like the first couple episodes of Star Trek, but they turned it into a 2-episode show. They took some of the stuff from that pilot and they turned it into a new show. And in the way they reworked it was Spock goes crazy. This Vulcan just starts doing crazy shit. He's about to get court-martialed because he's taking over the Enterprise. He's doing crazy stuff. There's this Captain Pike who is like badly burned. He's non-lingual. He's in this crazy wheelchair where he just has 2 lights. And it's like, blink once for yes and twice for no. And so we come to find out that his first post as a Starfleet officer was under Christopher Pike. Christopher Pike went to this planet where these big head aliens were trying to mate humans together because they were running out of people or some shit. And so in the original episode, it was basically like he gets trapped by these aliens and they try to mate him with this lady. But in the new episode, it's like, it's very ableist nowadays. I mean, this show came out like in 1965 or some shit. So, I mean, I'm not gonna hold them to our standard today. It's incredibly ableist. But this thing is, I used to be a young, sexy Christopher Pike. I want to go back to this planet where these people with the big brains can create an illusion that I'm young and sexy again, and I can be with this young, sexy bitch. Who also is incredibly deformed and misshapen. But when we use these illusions, we're hot, sexy 60s people with flipped hair and sexy short pants.
Okay.
And so this is the captain who is now the star of the new Star Trek show, and he keeps having these weird premonitions of him sitting in a wheelchair. So I'm like, are we really going to go with this ableist bullshit timeline again? But
I'm like, I don't think you need to stay true to these stories. One, I'm tired of people rehashing old stories. I think I've said it before. I'm not a fan of nostalgia. I'm not a fan of rebooting and redoing. Like, it's so many other motherfucking stories to be told.
Do you want to hear about the craziest? I know the reason I brought that up was because Anson Mount is a fine actor. He is a silver fox. He got great hair. He's doing a good job in this show. I've only seen like 2 episodes. It's only been out for but he's Black Bolt. He's a sexy bitch. And I think it's unfortunate that his character can't talk because he's got a great voice. He's very sexy. I liked how he blew his own mind. That was dope. Now, this is the last point I'm going to make. Talk about reboots. Guess what they're rebooting? You will never guess. It is not science fiction. It is a very popular show of the early to mid 2000s that created a very weird fan base for a cappella music.
Okay, give me a second.
And also show choir.
Not Glee.
Yes. They're rebooting Glee, and you will never guess who they've just cast as Mr. Shoe.
I'm sure I won't. Who?
It's James Corden.
Who the fuck is that?
That English dude that they put in literally everything, despite the fact that he has little to no talent, and I can't figure out why. He's the carpool karaoke guy.
Oh, what? Why?
Listen, don't ask me. I don't know. I would love to we absolutely are going to watch 1 episode of that and throw some shade on it because I
We're gonna have to shred that as the sous chefs do, because
We have
sounds
shredded
terrible.
Multiverse of Madness. We will be back to shred some other entertainments, I'm sure. Please let us know in the comments. What would you like to see us shred? Is there something that you, because here's the thing, I am known to be contrarian. I have
Not
strong
you.
opinions about everything. If I like something, I fucking like it. And here's the thing, I like some weird shit for various reasons. Like, do I think Staying Alive is a good movie? Yes, I do. Is it a good film? No. Is it entertaining as fuck? Oh, yes. For Grease too. Is that a good movie? Is that a good follow-up to Grease? No, it is not. However, is Michelle Pfeiffer in there singing Cool Rider like a motherfucking G? Climbing up on that ladder with all the sexiness she can muster in a bullshit movie where half the cast can't even sing? You better believe it. So I will pull enjoyment out of very strange places, but I also hate some shit I know y'all love. And so I'm sure that there's got to be some entertainment that you be like, she can't possibly hate this. Oh, I bet I can.
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Se puede. We could do that shit all day. I can hate some shit I love, and I'll figure out a way to do it just because I want to show you that as a good attorney, I can argue both sides equally persuasively. And it's about to happen. So please, won't you tell us in the comments, what are some entertainments that you would like to see in an upcoming segment of the Sous Chefs Reddit?
Or even if you don't think we can shred it, please tell us if you don't think we can shred it. Like if it's a masterpiece, please try.
I got opinions on everything, and I'm very happy to share them with you. So
Me too.
thank you for joining us on this extended Shredathon. Please like and subscribe to our channel. We're always coming up with new shit. If there's some court matters you'd like us to weigh in on, there's various trials going on. Is there something you'd like us to weigh in on? Let us know. Hit us up on Twitter at 420 Attorney Chicago. That's me. We're happy to hear from you. So once again, as always, I'm Chef Kimber A. Russell, Esquire.
And I'm always Chef Rob.
And we are the Sous Chefs, and we will see you right here next time.
All right.